Now, despite the fact that I'm the former business CDO, it doesn't take an accountant to recognize the problem that we find ourselves in. Because if you, who are working, go to get your check, and instead of a check you get an IOU, what happens at the end of the month? You're short of cash. Well, the district finds itself in that position as well. Think about it again. Let me say it differently. Our February payment, half of it gets paid in April. The April payment gets paid in July. The June payment doesn't get paid until October. Now, we have another problem, which is that we operate on a June 30th, July 1 fiscal year. So that our new fiscal year starts July 1st. But already 2 of our payments are in next year's budget. And I don't see that this is going to change. Calexico Unified School District's monthly payroll averages $5 million. You can see that it doesn't take very long before those $5 million over several months adds up to a whole lot of money. Now granted, we're the largest school district in Imperial County. But I can tell you that for us, the largest school district, that kind of a payroll is a huge amount of money. And despite the fact that the state is paying us with IOUs and a smile, we have an obligation to pay our employees. And I'm standing before you tonight to let you know that it is our commitment to meet that obligation for the rest of this year. Our employees will be paid this year. I was thinking again, if I were to go to the supermarket and saw it, which is where I shop, and I tried to pay them with an IOU, you know something, I could maybe get by for a little while. But I can tell you that the IID doesn't want to hear anything about IOUs. Now, I've spent quite a bit of time talking to you about what we have to do this year. As I indicated to you, we have to meet a shortfall, a gap of $5.1 million if we are to meet our 3% reserve. Next year, which is right around the corner, we anticipate that we will have an additional shortfall of $4.5 million. That is, if everything goes according to the governor's plans. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm sure all of you have seen in the paper that the governor has proposed a special election for May. Part of that special election is the lottery securitization. That's a tough word to pronounce. Because that's money that we're dependent on in order to help fund our schools. What he wants to do is he wants to sell the lottery to the private sector, hoping that they'll make more money than the public lottery currently does. And I suppose maybe it will, and then again, maybe it won't. Now, if the voters reject the referendum of the special election, it's very possible that our $4.5 million projected gap or deficit for next year could grow to $6 million. Excuse me for just a second. Think about it, $5.1 million this year, $4.5 to $6 million next year. I don't know. Our district and our Board of Education has a very difficult job before it. We, unlike the state, have a legal obligation to make sure that we present a balanced budget to you, the community, and to the county by July 1, and we will do that. This year will be no different than last year. I believe that the budget for the 09-10 school year will reflect that loss that I was projecting of $4.5 million to $6 million. Next year we will open the school year, I believe, with fewer administrators, with fewer teachers, with fewer staff in general. And I'm angry at the governor, as you should be. We should be angry at the legislature, because I believe that they turned their backs on our children, the children of California. California now has the dubious distinction of ranking 49th out of 50 states in terms of per pupil expenditures, how much we spend on every student. That's shameful. It's absolute. We should be embarrassed. Actually, we need to be angry, because this is wrong. Our children deserve better. Frankly, this is a tragedy of epic proportions. This year, we've been able to minimize the impact at the classroom level. Despite the fact that we will have cut $5.1 million, yes, we're doing it with fewer things, but we've been able to keep those cuts as far away from the children as possible. But unfortunately, we can't continue to do that. There just isn't a whole lot else that we can cut or eliminate other than people. You know, it's interesting that somebody approached me yesterday about the federal stimulus package, President Obama's promise to this country and to us that he would help to mitigate or minimize the impact of the economic crisis in the country, and certainly California is no exception. The problem is that right now all I'm hearing are promises, and I'm not hearing any specifics. I'm hoping we are working with our representatives in Washington to make sure that the needs of our kids, Calexico Unified School District, are not ignored. And I'm going to ask for your help in making sure that you remind our representatives in our legislature that they have an obligation to us and to our children.